How should we treat entities we cannot understand? Hi, my name is Tim. I write for television. These are some of my thoughts. In Season 1, Episode 25 of Star Trek, the original series, Kirk and Spock visit a mine that is being terrorized by a meatball. After unsuccessfully trying to kill the meatball, Spock suggests that he mind meld with the creature and discover what it wants. He figures out that this alien is only trying to protect its eggs, and they help negotiate a truce between the alien and the miners. In the pilot episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Farpoint Station is under attack by an unknown ship, which turns out to be a giant space jellyfish. Picard discovers that Farpoint Station itself is actually built atop the jellyfish alien's mate. So, Picard destroys the station and releases the jellyfish beneath it. Throughout the franchise of Star Trek, the shows have continually asked the question, how should we treat these alien creatures that are so unlike us? And almost always, Star Trek provides an answer. We treat them with humanity. It's not a very complicated theme, and it's often a very predictable plot. You see a big dangerous alien acting in an unusual way in Act 1, you can be pretty sure it's going to turn out to be a misunderstood sweetie by the end of Act 5. But there's comfort in such a humanist message of understanding and compassion. But it's not until Season 2, Episode 9 of The Next Generation where Star Trek starts to take this question deeper. In The Measure of a Man, a real dick from Starfleet R&D named Richard Maddox shows up on the Enterprise. He wants to disassemble Data, the ship's lovable android, and take him back to Earth for study. Data does not wish to be disassembled, but there's some question as to whether or not Data is a Starfleet officer or Starfleet property. So, there's a trial to determine if Data is a person or an object, and we get a bunch of great monologues on the nature of the soul from one of the best actors to give several monologues on the nature of the soul.
What is he? A machine. Is he? Are you sure? Yes. You see, he's met 2 of your 3 criteria for sentience, so what if he meets the 3rd? Consciousness in even the smallest degree. What is he then? I don't know. Do you? Do you?
In the end, Data is found to be a person, and Maddox realizes that Data is pretty cool. This episode is beloved by fans for a lot of reasons, not limited to the excellent performances by Stewart and Spiner. But what I think is so interesting about this episode is that it finds a deeper level to Trek's guiding thesis. How should we treat something that might, but might not be a person? The Measure of a Man does not conclude with any hard evidence that Data is or isn't a person. Instead, the episode relies on a more practical question. If we treat Data like an object, then are we not consigning all future Datas to a life of slavery? It's no accident that this question is posed by Guinan.
He's talking about slavery.
I think that's a little harsh.
Measure of a Man isn't really about robots at all. It's about us here in the present and how we dehumanize people and how we treat other people like objects. It's about racism. Most of Star Trek is about racism. It always has been. So this video is not about Measure of a Man. It's a great episode, and if you haven't seen it, I think you should. But I want to talk about Latent Image, which is, in my estimation, the most Star Trek episode of Star Trek. Now, I'm not going to claim Latent Image is the best episode of Star Trek. It's hammy, the acting is a mixed bag. It's an episode of Voyager after all, and Voyager was the ugly stepchild of the Star Trek franchise, until this recent batch of far uglier stepchildren showed up. The way I see it, Latent Image is where the writers dug so deeply into the theme of Star Trek that they arrived at the core. In Season 5, Episode 11, a ship's holographic doctor, who is just called the Doctor, discovers that he's missing a memory. Not only that, but there's a conspiracy aboard Voyager to ensure that he does not remember a surgery he performed a year and a half ago. When it's discovered that the conspiracy goes all the way to Captain Janeway, she makes the case that it is in the Doctor's best interest that he not remember.
I've made a command decision for your own benefit and the welfare of this entire crew. I'm not willing to debate it.
How would you like it if I operated on you without your consent? Or without your knowledge?
If the operation saved my life, I could live with it.
I don't believe you. You'd feel as violated as I do right now.
Whether you believe me or not is beside the point. A year and a half ago, the only solution was to rewrite your program. I have to perform that same procedure now.
The Doctor, unlike Data, is not an android. He's a computer program that is expressing itself through a hologram. Unlike Data, he wasn't designed to be sentient. He was just designed to be a practical tool. But over the 4 seasons of Voyager leading up to this episode, the crew have been fiddling with his program, and he's been developing a personality. Also, unlike Data, the Doctor is not a lovable character. The crew rely on him, but most of them find him really irritating, because he is really irritating. And unlike Measure of a Man, there's no trial to determine if the Doctor is a person and should have rights. The order is given, and nearly everyone goes along with it, except Seven of Nine, who acts as Captain Janeway's conscience and objects to this treatment of the Doctor. When Seven objects, Janeway finally lets the audience know what she really thinks.
Lukewarm? Now, I've told that replicator a dozen times about the temperature of my coffee. It just doesn't seem to want to listen. Almost as if it's got a mind of its own. But it doesn't. A replicator operates through a series of electronic pathways that allow it to receive instructions and take appropriate action. And there you go, a cup of coffee. A bowl of soup, a plasma conduit, whatever we tell it to do. As difficult as it is to accept, the Doctor is more like that replicator than he is like us.
He would disagree.
I'm sure he would, but I can't let that change my decision.
What's so shocking about this moment is it's a complete reversal of Picard's role in The Measure of a Man. Here, Janeway casually admits that this whole time she's been relying on the Doctor and treating the Doctor like a person, but she hasn't thought of him as a person, and we're 5 seasons into the show.
I have always looked to you as my example, my guide to humanity. Perhaps I've been mistaken.
In the end, Janeway changes her mind. She decides to restore the memories to the Doctor, memories of a triage situation that caused the Doctor to go mad. With his memories restored, he goes mad once again. Here's where the episode does something really interesting. When Janeway decides to treat the Doctor like a human, she treats him with an enormous amount of sensitivity and care. She sets up a 24-hour vigil, where members of the crew sit with the Doctor and keep him company while he struggles with his mental health. There's no sci-fi shenanigans, there's no engineering solution. They just sit and listen. They don't try to fix him. There's no powerful monologue about recovery and perseverance, and there's no moment of epiphany where the Doctor finally gets over it. Janeway just sits with him while he struggles with his mental health, and then the episode ends. It's a sober ending, but it feels more real because of its untidiness. The Doctor is not cured in the end because his ailment is the human condition, or at least that's how they're deciding to treat him. Latent Image doesn't actually come down on one side or the other as to the Doctor's personhood. He might be a person, he might just be a computer program acting like a person. The question is for philosophers, not for the crew of Voyager. They're treating him like a person, and that's what matters. If it isn't 100% clear by now, I'll restate the subtext. This is about racism. It's a commentary about how we treat people who we cannot relate to. We subtly move people into the not human category, and then while they're in that category, all sorts of wickedness can be excused.
That is part of my dilemma. I have the curiosity of humans, but there are questions that I will never have the answers to. What it is like to laugh or cry, or to experience any human emotions.
Data was the franchise's first attempt at using a machine as a stand-in for racism. In a lot of ways, Data represents the model minority. The audience is prepared to respect Data's personhood because he keeps reminding us that he wants to be human. He sees his own condition as somehow inferior, and he wishes he could be like us. He flatters us. On top of that, despite his lack of emotions, Data is lovable. He is moral and childlike. He's kind of sexy.
I am programmed in multiple techniques.
The Doctor, on the other hand, does not make it so easy to classify him as a person. He's not lovable, he's thin-skinned, he's arrogant, he has no desire to be human. He's proud of who he is. He doesn't want to be a member of the fleshy club. He is not a model minority, and that's important. That's what the episode is focusing on. is that even though he doesn't want to be a human, it doesn't mean he shouldn't be treated with humanity. And Latent Image does a terrific job showing how racism can sit just beneath the surface, lying in wait for years. Since the beginning, the captain has been working with the Doctor, asking him for advice, going for checkups, inviting him to birthday parties, and after 5 years, she admits she's never seen him as a person the whole time. Throughout history, racism has always found a way to hide behind the veneer of science. Differences in skull shape were used to justify the treatment of African people. Reduced body hair were seen as a sign that Native Americans were somehow less developed than Europeans. Even today, there are people making the argument that different races have different IQs. These arguments are all false and they're built on junk science, but they are myriad. When you knock one down, another takes its place. And these arguments are all built with a singular purpose. It is to make you think that your fellow humans might be a little less human than you. Star Trek provides an interesting counter-messaging to that idea. What if everything might be a little bit more human than you could possibly imagine? Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Sorry, sir. You seem to be commenting on everything.
Good. Don't stop, my friend.